You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 194.4, the Colts Report with Eli Edwards. For those of you who don't know, Eli, he was the star quarterback at Eastern High School, now plays on the defensive line for the Ball State football team. He made a decision actually yesterday that he would like to be our Colts correspondent after I convinced him that he would have the time to do it. So he was not exactly prepared for the first week of Colts Talk, but I kind of took control. He will be from now on. He's our new Colts guy. Welcome, Eli.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
I am here with Eli Edwards, former Eastern star quarterback, now Ball State defensive end. Is that what you've been moved to?
D-tackle.
Oh, defensive tackle.
Yep.
He's putting on a little bit of weight, looking good. Going to make the Cardinals better next year. Has agreed to be the Central Indiana Sports Report Colts guy, and he and I are going to start talking Colts often. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We've been talking, I don't know, since the beginning of football season about what we could do. Of course, during football season, you were really busy. We never really got a chance to sit down, and we talked about this and we talked about that, and we finally said, hey, Eli, I think you could do the Colts, even though you're going to be playing football in the fall. I still think it's something you're going to be able to do, especially if it's something you're passionate about, and football is clearly something you're passionate about.
Well, been playing football my whole life. My dad, head coach at Eastern, really brainwashed me from the beginning. Yeah, actually convinced me to like football so much. He made that my first word, as he had said it to me so much.
Nice.
So always being around it, growing up with it, I knew I wanted to play at the next level. And I'm just so thankful that I was blessed with the opportunity to play at Ball State. And it wouldn't have happened without all the people around me, my family, my coach, which is basically the same person. But super excited to be covering the Colts. It's hard not to be a Colts fan, being around Indy. They've got
and you're a Colts fan, but you're just really a football fan, right?
Yes.
So you'll kind of cover the Colts from a broad perspective. We'll talk a lot about the NFL as well. We'll call you our Colts/NFL guy. We'll be talking a lot. And, of course, you are at Ball State, one of the nation's top communications departments, and you are going into sports journalism and looking to have a little bit of fun with this. And I think it's a great team. So let's talk a little Colts.
All righty.
Ooh, last year was a mess. I can't believe that they brought Chris Ballard back, but they did, and we can't talk about there's no point in talking about that anymore. Shane Steichen's back. Chris Ballard's back. They've both done some good things in the past, so it's not like either one is completely incompetent. I don't think that's the issue, right?
Right.
They both are pretty good at what they do. The issue is Indianapolis is used to contending for championships after all the Peyton Manning years, the Andrew Luck years, where they weren't winning championships, but they were contending every year. It was more than 20 years of nonstop success, and now it's been about 4 years of not just not success, but pretty bad product, not very watchable. What do they need to do? If you were Chris Ballard and you were Shane Steichen, what would your first moves be?
Well, I think in the offseason, I don't know if Chris is a guy who really likes to spend that much money on a guy. I mean,
he has a different strategy than most GMs.
Right. He kind of plays a little easy, a little simple.
Safe.
Right. So I think if we're going to be paying some O-linemen, keep the O-line sturdy so that we can, if we're going to be running Anthony Richardson however many times a game, keep him healthy while he's in the pocket. I think they need to get a good backup since he's going to be dying however couple plays.
A guy who could come in and play an entire season if he had to.
Right. It was weird. I thought Flacco actually would have been a pretty good call because he was pretty solid with the Browns, and then but did not transfer well.
One thing people didn't consider with the Browns is that he had such a good offense around him that it was hard not to be competent. I don't think people realize how good most of the Browns' offense is because the quarterbacking has been so bad,
right?
And the weapons on the outside haven't been great. They've been good, but they haven't been great. But that offensive line is the biggest, baddest dudes in the league. And I said last year when it happened, this was a flash in the pan. This was a one-time thing with Flacco. I would not be signing him.
No.
But for a backup, for a guy who you can plug and play,
Yep.
a pretty good player.
Yep.
But you're right. They need a guy who, if Richardson gets hurt, because we know it's
Probably will happen.
We know it's going to happen at some point. And
Right.
even if he's incredibly healthy with his style, at some point he's going to miss a game or two.
Exactly.
And it's possible he'll miss 14 games if he gets hurt in week 3. And you probably need that. If you decide, so would you decide if you were the general manager, Anthony Richardson's the guy? Or do you restart, or do you give him one more year?
Yeah.
How do you approach it?
I think you give them one more year. I mean, their skilled players are, I'd say, solid to a little bit below average. I think
below average.
They need to add a piece or two. I think with this draft coming up, a great guy for them would be Tyler Warren from Penn State, that tight end.
There's no way he's falling that far, though. They've got to move up to get him.
Yes, they have to go aggressive a little bit, trade up. Last season, I think they were one or two picks away from Brock Bowers.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Although Ballard swears he was going to take Latu no matter what. So
oh, really?
That's what he said. Even if Bowers had been there, the Colts were in desperate need for a pass rusher too.
Yes, that's true.
And still are.
Yeah.
Yep. All kinds of holes to fill. Where would you start if you were, let's start with free agency. Linebacker, do you go tight end if, in case Warren, because tight end's got to be fixed. The other option, of course, is just to bring in some offensive linemen who are just road graders and run 80% of the time with Richardson and Taylor, because if Richardson's not running the ball, he's not much use to you.
Right. I think you really got to start with the tight end, man. I mean, their defense is pretty solid. It's got some stars on it. Everywhere.
Some holes, but some good players as well.
Yes, it's weird. It's like it's a star. It's a crazy good guy, or it's a spot you got to fill. So
absolutely, both sides of the ball.
Yes, definitely. So I think you can fill those in free agency. Get a backer, a guy. I mean, this is offensively, but I thought they're not going to get him because Chris doesn't like to go with these crazy deals that often.
Maybe this having pressure on him might change that.
That's true. I thought Debo would have been a great guy to throw in there, especially for what the
number one receiver is what they really need.
Yes.
By the way, the Central Indiana Sports Report does not use the word Commanders. Next time you got to do 10 push-ups.
Okay.
We say Washington.
Okay.
Because that is just a horrible name.
It is. It's terrible.
They had an opportunity to go with Red Tails, like the Tuskegee Airmen or Red Tail Hawks.
Yeah.
And that would have been a perfect honoring of someone else. And if you're I think the Redskins is fine. I have no issue with Redskins. I don't know how you feel about it. But
I
even if you are against using Redskins, come up with something better than Commanders. It's so bad. Same with the Cleveland Indians. I don't think they should have changed their name from Indians. But Guardians, come on. You got to do better than that.
They picked the worst names for both of them.
Really could. And Cleveland had the Spiders, their old team back in the old days. It was called the Cleveland Spiders. They could have used that one. Washington had the Red Tails right there in front of them, and they just made the worst decisions possible. Of course, Washington's saying they might change their name.
Oh, they need to make up their mind about something.
They need
the
to.
Football team.
Yes, they do.
I won't say it this time. That C word.
Yes, the C word.
Yeah.
That's what we call them, the C words.
Man, yeah. But hey, they got a great deal on Debo, only a 5th-round pick.
Ooh, fantastic. And Jaden Daniels looks like he is a special one.
Yep.
And if they win a Super Bowl with that name, I may never watch football. That's how much I'm against it. Already those ugly colors, and now they got the stupid name. But Jaden Daniels looks special.
He does, definitely.
All right, receiver. They need to upgrade. You're right, at receiver. We talk a little bit about Debo. That's not going to happen now. But there are some guys out there who could fill that role. DeAndre Hopkins type player. Is he still that guy? I don't know. There are definitely going to be guys out there to go. Is receiver. Again, you said weapons probably a little below average. I think that probably speaks to the receiver core being a little below average. I don't think Michael Pittman he would be a fantastic number 2 receiver.
Absolutely.
So they need to find that other guy.
Yes, definitely. I think a guy that would have been great for that would have been T. Higgins But of course, he just got franchise tagged today, so that's out the window. I mean, that dude's a very solid guy for the Bengals, but now he's out of the picture. Keenan Allen's a free agent this offseason. I don't know if he's getting a little old, but he would have been a great guy. Amari Cooper, I don't know how long his deal is with Buffalo.
I don't know. Apparently he's a free agent right now.
Okay.
So that could be an option. Chris Godwin just signed with some.
Oh, he did?
No, maybe I just saw that he was expected to at some point. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Those are probably the only ones that you're probably going to get in free agency that are number ones.
Right.
That could make Pittman the league's best number 2, which is really what he should be. He's a possession-type receiver who can go up and catch the ball at the point. Fantastic receiver to have on your team for sure. If DeAndre Hopkins still has it in him, he's a guy who gets deep and catches the ball against a lot of with guys draped all over him, and that's Richardson is not an accurate passer, but what he has is good downfield vision. And you talk about cannons, man.
Yeah, that dude's got an arm, doesn't he?
Maybe the best in the NFL, and he threw a couple last year that were just absolute dimes.
Oh,
and again, his accuracy is not great, but if there's a guy open downfield, he's going to find it.
Yep.
And that's really Lamar Jackson. That's what makes him special is that downfield vision. If you're going to stop him on the run, he's going to see somebody behind you. And here's the list. I got the list of free agent wide receivers. There's some nice players there I'd really like to have, but you probably, unless you want to deal with a headache like Stephon Diggs or I have a feeling that Brown, I can't think of his first name, for the Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling that the Eagles aren't going to put up with his behavior. If you want to deal with a headache, sometimes Hopkins can be a bit of a headache, although the last 5 or 6 years he's been nothing but a professional. So Marquise Brown didn't show much last year, but just showed so much potential when he was young.
Yep.
So interesting class there. And again, my thing, if I was running sorry I've taken over this.
Oh,
but,
no.
We haven't had a Colts guy yet, and I've been hiding my opinions here. It's just the draft road graders, just guys who are just, you don't need great pass blockers when Anthony Richardson is your quarterback. You need good pass blockers. You don't need great ones because he's going to beat the first guy every time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you're going to need to protect his blind side, all that.
Right.
And he's so strong, the first guy might not even get him down. So if you could just get road graders and just guys who just, last year, Johnny, the Eagles drafted wide receiver 6'7", and they said was the best ever graded wide receiver blocker. I was like, now that's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. 10 guys blocking in front of Anthony Richardson is something that you could do over and over. Is that something that they should start looking at?
I think so, but the thing is like I believe it was last year. There was that play he ran the ball, and then he got hurt, of course,
right.
And then came back in. First play they ran with him again. It's like I think they need to pace it a little bit more, open up his game a little bit more.
Well, you also have Taylor too.
That's true. Their running game could be so good that it'll open up the passing game. Like everyone's just going to be consistently. I mean, NFL players are so
Absolutely.
good, but
yes.
With how good the Colts running game could be with Jonathan Taylor and then AR, that 1-2 punch, you get a wide receiver in there or a tight end, the RPOs you could run would be absolutely unstoppable with Tyler Warren potentially, or I mean, if you took a chance on one of those guys, they're going to be good enough for sure. I mean, that offense it's just 1 or 2 pieces away, and I think it'll click. And then Steichen, he seems like I think he's pretty solid so far for his first year. Other than, I mean, the record wasn't beautiful, but
I thought he made some really bad mistakes last year. I really did. I thought the benching of Anthony Richardson, the way that it was handled.
Yes,
I don't have a problem with him benching him if that's what he felt like he should do, but you can't just like spring this on your rookie quarterback and then just say, hey, this is what we're doing and we're doing it for good. It was very poorly done. And I thought his offense was much less creative in the second season. I thought the first year after years of Frank Reich doing nothing creative. Seemed like he had 3 plays. By the way, great head coach in that he was a motivator, and but man, his offensive coordinators were the least imaginative. Anyway, I long for the days when the Colts offenses were the most imaginative around, and we had those for years and years, and even back with the Eric Dickerson days, a lot of imagination and different things. And I just thought last year they lost a lot of that. They were way too predictable.
Yep.
Draft, you talked about Tyler Warren. Let's assume the Colts can't get Tyler Warren. Anybody that you've seen in the draft who is of interest to you?
Man, I don't know about these. I don't know that many other tight ends that would be great for them.
Not necessarily tight end. Any.
I know Bama's got a few good inside linebackers in this draft, so either one of them would be good.
Linebacker is definitely middle linebacker in particular.
I think those 2 spots are the 2 biggest they should try and attack at this first pick, and the first pick they have in the draft. But
middle of the draft, linebacker is a great place to get a great one.
Yep, and with the Colts always just doing good enough to not get one of the really great picks. It's weird. It's like they're never horrible.
Stuck in the middle.
Yeah. Every year, it definitely makes it difficult for them.
Yeah,
which is it's weird. The Colts, I feel like have always been like this, or since I've been a fan.
Yeah,
just kind of
the last few years, right in the middle. Yeah.
So
believe me, for the first 20 years of the franchise here, they never won, and then for the next 20, they never lost. So we've been through all of it.
Nice. There's a couple of good. I don't know. Their corners. Decent.
Yeah. I thought the corners last year weren't bad, but I really like Will Johnson from Michigan.
Yep.
I really like Jahad Campbell from Alabama, the linebacker. I would hope he would drop to the second round, but because he's probably not worthy of 14.
Right.
But a nice player, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about between now and the season. That's a long time away, and we'll talk a couple of times a week. We'll probably get together once a week and talk Colts until the season. Then we will do previews and game recaps and all of that. But between now and then, you and I will get together once a week and talk Colts. And this time I'll actually give you a chance to be prepared. I just kind of sprung this on you. I said today, you know what? I think you'd be a great Colts correspondent. And he said, all right. So here we are. And looking forward to working with you, and
yes, sir.
Really hoping that it stop the stir stuff, and really hope that the Colts go in the right direction. And I really hope Anthony Richardson's the guy.
Yep.
He's got some it. He's got
definitely.
It, we saw it, especially at the goal line. He's got it, and I really hope he's the guy. I hope he proves people wrong. So. Thank you so much, Eli. So good to see you, and
yes,
can't wait to continue to do this.
Thank you very much.
Stop calling me sir.
Thank you so much to Eli for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. We welcome him aboard, and we look forward to seeing what he's going to do with this podcast. Looking forward to seeing what he comes up with. And thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, or follow us at SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or especially at YouTube, so you don't miss a single segment. And if you're interested in seeing us grow and thrive, please share this podcast with your friends and family. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.